are you? Oh, didn't you graduate?
A few years ago.
Okay, I thought that. Okay, I was going to have to.
But didn't you retire?
I did too.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go and look inside?
Let's go in.
Let's go see what
This is a real trip down memory lane.
It is.
Meet Mr. Mosier. He says I should call him Brian now. After all, it's been 20 years since he was my teacher, but he'll always be Mr. Mosier to me.
You know how you tell how old you are in a high school?
How?
By how far down the hallway you are. See, the pictures start back there.
This is not good. I don't know about this.
And you are like right before the next corridor.
This is Gander Collegiate, GC as we call it here. Gander's only high school, home of the Concords, and on September 11th, 2001, home to 357 stranded passengers. You might know Gander's story. Aviation history, 38 planes forced to land as U.S. airspace closed, a tremendous community response, a hit Broadway musical. That moment rings through these halls, etched in the memories of the people, students and teachers.
This is your first year in an advanced math course.
I was in this same advanced math course on 9/11 when an announcement was made.
The principal came on the intercom telling students to bring their books home, any medications or whatever they need for the next few days. That's when we're told we had to turn the school into a hotel.
You might have heard of Brian Mosier. The reporter character Janice Mosier in the musical Come From Away is partially modeled after him.
Tom Brokaw phones me. Tom Brokaw. He's doing a documentary, and since I was the only reporter in town, I'm the only one with any footage. So. Tom Brokaw.
Tom Brokaw.
But Mosier also wrote a media course and successfully petitioned the federal government for funding to create a TV studio in our high school.
You spent a lot of time there.
He wanted his students to get real journalism experience, and did they ever? On September 11th, Jane March was in his class.
And before we knew it, he was saying, get the camera and go to the airport to get the footage of the airplanes landing.
And after that, like so many other students, she was back at the school volunteering, serving up food, and organizing toiletries. For 5 days, when she wasn't here, she was working at the local grocery store.
It was very stressful for me. I was very quiet. A lot of them didn't speak English. They were passing me money. And I remember going, oh my goodness, now I have to figure out how much to give them back.
But a lot of growing up happened for Gander teens that week.
Then I kind of stopped and thought about it. And I'm like, I'm worried about whether I'm giving them the right change. And they're worried about whether their families know they're alive. Who here has said, please?
All raise your hand.
I think we've all done that.
March has come full circle and is now a teacher in Gander, alongside her best friend, then and now.
Right? Luke, can you tell me a way that you were kind, my sweet?
Help my friends do their work.
Awesome.
Together they are passionate about teaching young children kindness and compassion.
Like a lot of kids will know sort of that, you know, a bunch of planes landed here a long time ago before they were even born. They might know those details from their parents, but the thing that we kind of teach from when the first day they enter is kindness, and how little acts of kindness, lead up to be big things.
Almost all of the former students I've been speaking with have mentioned this brown piece of paper. They didn't know it was still here, now mounted on the wall in the school, but it was put here in this exact spot during that week in September 2001, and the passengers filled almost every inch of it with heartfelt messages of thanks. Like this one. To the City of Angels, Gander. Happiness is hard to come by in this life, and you have given us more than our share. Or this one. If we could only Ganderize the whole world, what a lovely little planet we would have.
The world became so small, really, really quick. And I think that's what sticks with me today.
For Jennifer and Trent Skanes, it was an intense cultural exchange. Trent's family had 6 stranded passengers from Mexico and Pakistan stay in their home.
That experience, I think, really just exposed us to things that we wouldn't have seen. Now, on that day, I think it was more like, where am I going to volunteer? I wonder where Jen's going to volunteer.
They had met only days before.
Again, with that kind of emotional boiling pot, I suppose. It's that intensity. It's like a movie, right? It can bring you closer a lot faster than other circumstances. And
it was just nice to see that he was willing to you know, kids
Helping
are
is hot.
Now living in Mount Pearl, married with 2 kids, they insist they were just doing their part.
None of this feels like a unique story, you know, for the 2 of us. People tend to think it is. Everyone went through this. Everyone had an experience and a story to tell.
Yeah, what can I do for you today?
Dr. Chris Downton sure has a story. He has a family practice in Vancouver, but focuses on global and refugee health.
So I think that that drive to connect to people of different backgrounds, and that's something that's still a strong desire of mine, and I think can be brought back to some of those first exposures to diversity and international events that took place in 2001.
It also gives him hope.
Is I think remembering that in times of trauma and catastrophe, humans can come together and achieve something despite differences. It gives me some hope that that we can do the same to solve some other problems.
Like many of us, he comes back to Gander regularly. Newfoundlanders are drawn to home. Perhaps it's the same sense of belonging that made some of those passengers, here under the very worst of circumstances, not want to leave, and in turn helped shape the lives of a generation of students.
They really gave of themselves. They could have taken that week off. You know, I mean, school was closed. This school system has produced some great people that have gone on and made their mark in the world.
The tragedy has not been forgotten, but 20 years on, there is still pride here, displayed all over town. And those young people, they're pretty grateful to have been raised here, among people who showed them the meaning of community and connection. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Gander.